Well, thank you all for coming and joining us this morning. This second day of the 82nd legislative session. The Lieutenant Governor, the Speaker, and I just wrapped up one of our first weekly breakfast meetings. Wednesday mornings, we try to get together and discuss the work at hand. And I can tell you that we believe we're already on track to fulfill the expectations of our citizens, and that is a balanced budget with no tax increases. As you know, the revenue estimate Comptroller Combs released this week reflects the lingering impact of the national recession, but it also shows that our state's economy is still growing ahead of the nation's pace. There is no shortage of commentators saying that we're on the verge of budgetary Armageddon. Fact of the matter is, that's just not true. What is true is that government should tighten its belt, just as Texas families, Texas employers have been doing for months. Texans sent a loud and a clear message on Election Day, making it clear they expect us to balance the budget without taking more money from employers and working families. They want a leaner, more efficient government, and so do we. So we're committed to helping Texas sustain its economic lead by remaining good stewards of taxpayer dollars, making the right strategic investments, standing firm on the fiscal principles that have guided us through these past budget challenges. We have begun that challenging work of reconciling the House and the Senate versions of the budget, on our way to agreement on key priorities, ensuring our state will be financially strong in years to come. We start from the shared embrace of three guiding principles. Don't raise taxes, work with the available revenue, evaluate all programs and agencies as we scrub the budget. In the end, we intend to give the people what they want and what they deserve, a fiscally responsible government which leads to more jobs, greater freedom, and continued security in their communities and their homes. With that, I'd like to turn the microphone over to the Lieutenant Governor and then Speaker Straus to share their perspectives on the challenges that we face. And then we'll be happy to answer any questions that you have.
Thank you, Governor. Yesterday I was on a national cable talk show, and they seemed a little giddy about Texas was having some budget problems. I noticed on Saturday there was an editorial in the New York Times by one of the more liberal columnists that seemed giddy about the fact that Texas had a budget shortfall. You know, Governor, Speaker, that just shows we're doing the right thing here in Texas. I think the only challenge we have is if we don't continue doing what we're doing. There's a reason why hundreds of thousands of new people are coming to Texas every year. People are voting with their feet for Texas because we've created a platform of predictability, something you don't see in Washington. No one in this room can tell me what the federal tax rate is going to be in 2 years. The policies of Congress and this administration are constantly changing. Not so in Texas. We want people to come here. We want people to help us grow. Our number one priority, obviously, that's why you're going to see some legislation in the Senate and the House, always is to protect the physical safety of all 25 million Texans who live in our great state. Secondly, we want to make sure that families and people are protected economically. And that's why we have so much emphasis on maintaining a level playing field, making this attractive, keeping our taxes as low as we can, while at the same time providing all of our essential services. And that is exactly what we're going to do. The yellow rose of Texas is vibrant and fresh. I know. And another thing I know is a reduction in a proposed increase in spending is not a cut. Very few families I know, including mine, are automatically increasing their spending because they've done it in the past, 10 to 15%. Very few businesses I know are automatically increasing their spending 10 to 15% because they could do it a few years ago. I don't think government should be automatically increasing its spending. From the current 88.5 GR to, I hear numbers on, oh my God, if you don't go to $100 billion, what are we going to do? Let me tell you, I've given some estimates to lots of superintendents around the state of where I hope in the Senate we get our funding to, and they said, oh, we'll give you a bear hug, we'll come over and cut your grass. I said, that's all right, I live in a condo, I don't have any grass to cut. But we're gonna come in here and do what every family, every business does, and we're gonna look at what our priorities are, and if our priorities, they're still the same priorities, we're gonna make sure that we maintain funding. In some cases, we may even increase our funding. So we're not gonna look at across-the-board cuts, we're gonna look at programmatic changes, programmatic analysis, just like you do in your own house. That's what I'm doing in my household with Tricia and Carolyn. That's what every business is doing. So as we go through this process, we're going to end up, I think, not completely dissimilar to where we were in 2003. Remember 2003, we all came in, everyone said, doom and gloom, we're going to have an income tax in Texas over mine, the governor's cold, dead political bodies. We didn't have a $10 billion. Actually, some organizations said $16 billion shortfall. We had a $2 billion shortfall. Into that session, we put more money in public education. We took care of the needs of our vulnerable in Texas, elderly, frail, disabled children, and we held our spending at the same level on higher education in 2003. This is a little tougher. But folks, other states have been running deficits or shortfalls. We don't run a deficit in Texas because we always balance our budget. They've been running shortfalls, deficits in 2008, 2009, 2010, coming into 2011. So with the biennium, we're just catching up. Thank goodness we were prudent. Thank goodness we saved money in 2009 so we could use that in 2010. Thank goodness we saved money. And we're going to be very, very careful on how we spend going forward. So I'm very optimistic. I've told the senators, told anyone who wants, I'm looking forward to this session. I think this is a session in which we can remind the people of Texas, we're not Washington. We're not going to go spend $5 for every $3 we take in. We're going to provide for our essential services. And I'm determined to do that. But we're going to make sure that we're not spending money that we don't need to, and we're going to protect the taxpayers, and we're going to not raise taxes. Next, our new speaker. Congratulations on your victory.
Thank you. I'm
new and improved.
I'm new and improved. I'm just the guy that was grateful that they saved me a spot at the breakfast table this morning. Eggs were delicious. It's good to be back with you guys. And also appreciate going last. I didn't have to learn my lines because they were all stolen. But let me just say that I and the Texas House are in sync with the governor, lieutenant governor, and the House and the Senate, as we have been during the interim, working on some of the fiscal issues that we knew were out there and needed to be managed during the interim. After yesterday's convening of the House, over on my side, there's a lot of organizational work to be done now, and we'll be getting to that shortly. We have rules to pass and House organization to take care of. But we will be laying out the base budget bill next week, and as the governor, lieutenant governor, and I all agree, it will be a budget that is built on available revenue, and will show a state that will live within its means. No taxes, no tax increases, and a budget that is disciplined and lives up to the promises that we've all made in this last year and promises that the voters expect us to keep.